show y'all my dick, but I can't show you my dick. It's a great conundrum. It's a great conundrum.
This is one of the greatest performances of all time. Nobody's gonna say it, but I'm gonna. This is Connor for real, protagonist of the film Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. Popstar is about the tumultuous career of Connor and his relationship with former boy band group, the Style Boys. Because this movie made no dollars, let me just say forthright that this is the funniest movie ever made. Nothing stretches all of my comedic itches as much as this movie does. Every gag lands, every song slaps, and there's some really moving meta commentary about the people headlining this movie. That being, The Lonely Island. Made up of Akiva Schaffer, Jorma Taccone, and Andy Samberg, who plays Connor, and who is also the subject of this video. This is Andy Samberg's greatest performance. I love him in a very many number of things, but there is no doubt that this is one of the great comedic performances. And there's something very interesting underlying this performance, especially in the context of Samberg's career, that makes it the best. So, let's talk about Andy Samberg.
Daiquiri girl, you're my entire world.
When I think about Andy Samberg, there are two sides of him that spring to mind, that define his comedic sensibilities. The first being unhinged Samberg. Unhinged Samberg can be defined by, well, being unhinged. Most of his SNL work falls into this category. Looking at the multitude of SNL digital shorts he and The Lonely Island made over their run, you see an abundance of common tropes that are near and dear to their comedy. Characters that are over-exaggerated in all their mannerisms, but especially in their speech. Frat bro humor blended with the new digital possibilities that they pioneered, a la early YouTube. Ideas that are so stupid and dumb and unfunny that they wrap around to being actually funny. And of course, tons and tons of musical comedy. They have what I describe as the Spinal Tap touch. Songs that are obviously joke songs and sound like joke songs, but are also actually good? I mean, when you can get Michael Bolton, Rihanna, and T-Pain as guest singers, you can probably make good music. This era was peak Unhinged Samberg. I also have to mention Hot Rod, The Lonely Island's first movie, and also a really funny movie, although supplementary to this video. And such was this era of Samberg, until his departure from SNL. Now, Samberg was alone, and, without The Lonely Island, developed the other side of his comedic persona, that being witty Samberg. Less of a comedic monster, and more focused, more snarky, more, that just happened, that was really popular with stuff like the MCU. A shining example of this is Palm Springs, which asks the question of, what if Groundhog Day, but double? Although this movie probably is more of a Christian melody showcase, you can't downplay how well Samberg plays Niles. A very laid-back, nihilistic performance, full of sardonic commenting on the absurdity of the story. He still has that same absurdity, although noticeably drier. He's caving into the emotional core of someone lost to time, something which witty Samberg can actually do compared to unhinged Samberg, transcending the comedy to find the sadness within. It's an effective trade-off of skills, and it shows Samberg's versatility within both personas. Also, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I love the show, but I thought it'd just be really funny if that's the only mention of it in the video. And now we get to Popstar. As a young Miley Cyrus once put it, it's the best of both worlds of Samberg's comedy. Most of it derives from the traditional unhinged Samberg. I don't want this portion to just be listing off the funniest Andy Samberg moments from Popstar. I'll be honest and say that the movie and Samberg's comedic performance really just speaks for itself. Like, that's a funny moment, 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 blah 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 blah. A deviously funny performance. But what really sets this apart is how much of a real character Connor is. Obviously, Connor is a pastiche of plentiful of pop stars, particularly Justin Bieber. And yet, despite being born out of these parody angles, Connor never feels fake. Going back to the Spinal Tap comparison, Spinal Tap actually feel like they exist in real life, and that helps audiences get invested in the story of Spinal Tap, even when their story goes off the rails. This is where witty Samberg comes in, grounding Connor so that, miraculously, you do kind of feel bad about Connor failing to coexist with his fame and friends. The final third is full witty Samberg, and it also makes the maturation of Connor over the movie's course actually believable. And you can't forget about the meta aspects of the performance. The story of Connor for real is in many ways inspired by the actual career of Andy Samberg, starting out in his trio of best friends before singularly exploding into his own persona and stardom. The arc that Connor goes through, rediscovering his love for his boys and the power of friendship and such, to me, reads as a subliminal message that, while Sandy Amberg might be much bigger than The Lonely Island as a whole, he'll never grow out of it, and that Keith and Yorm are as instrumental to his career as Samberg's own merits. It's a genuinely moving testament to the longevity of friendship, and that your boys will always be your boys. It's a perfect collection of everything Samberg has ever been good at and more, and in my opinion, not only stands as one of the greatest comedic performances, but just one of the best. There is no irony when I say this, so why aren't more people talking about it? Obviously, Popstar made $1 bajillion at the box office, so I don't get it. But in all seriousness, I think it gets into a complaint I have with the state of media discussion and what constitutes as a great performance. That is, the lack of comedic performances in the canon of great performances. They don't get nominated at the Oscars, at least not on a regular basis. They don't usually get mentioned in greatest performances of all time. And the few that do have a place in the canon are usually directed by directors who have as much standing in dramas as comedies. Comedic performances in straight-up comedies are almost never recognized for the magnitude of their performance. We all love Charlie Chaplin's acting at the end of The Great Dictator with that monologue, and rightfully so. However, I feel like this is the only moment singled out where people go, damn, that Chaplin guy is a really good actor. Maybe it's because The Tramp is of a silent comedy type, but I think what he does with The Tramp across the years is way more impressive from an acting standpoint than a single Great Dictator monologue. And as I've discussed, performances like Andy Samberg's and Popstar have that depth and tactility that most of the great dramatic performances have. This is its own debate. Delving into the historical bias against comedy is high art, despite the fact that many of the great cinematic auteurs were incredibly deft comedic filmmakers. People like Ernst Lubitsch and Howard Hawks and Billy Wilder. There are way too many great comedic performances that fall under the radar. Too many of the great actors and actresses that bring their greatest work in comedies. There isn't any reason why any of the performances shown shouldn't be, at the very least, considered in the wider canon of great performances. Great acting is not alien to comedy movies, it is inherent. Because I don't know how anybody looks at Andy Samberg's Finest Hour and thinks otherwise.
Daiquiri girl, you're my entire world. Daiquiri girl.